All right, welcome to this very short presentation about the training wheels package, or an educational package that we created here at Craft Academy in order to simplify the way you guys can learn about setting up test environment for JavaScript-based projects. And you know, I'm a great fan of convention over configuration, and configuring testing frameworks is sometimes a very tedious work. And while you are attending the bootcamp, we want you to learn, of course, to configure stuff, but we also want to get you started, and just not get frustrated about learning how to configure things. So we created this package. We call it End-to-End Training Wheels. The name could be potentially a little bit misleading, but it kind of implies that it's all about acceptance tests, or end-to-end tests, as they are usually referred to in the JavaScript world. But what it does, it actually provides a setup to write and execute acceptance tests, but also unit tests of your JavaScript code. Should you choose to write unit specs? So you can find the package itself on the npmjs.com and search for E2E Training Wheels with an underscore between the words. And now I'm just going to show you how to set this up. There's a README here that you can acquaint yourself with. Read through that, of course. We try to simplify the setup for you as much as we can. There are certain things you need to do, but that should be pretty straightforward. You basically need to have a project started. It needs to be an npm needs to be initialized in that project. You have to install the package called E2E Training Wheels, and then you have to run a setup script and another command to get it working. You can also do a manual setup if you want, should you choose not to run the script, but I would encourage you to run the script instead. It simplifies the setup a lot. So I am in my projects folder, and I'm going to create a new folder and call it testing demo. And cd into this folder. I'm going to run npm init that initializes an npm project in this folder. Now, you are prompted to answer a few questions. You can do it if you want. You don't have to do it. You can just keep on hitting enter until the end of the setup process. This will scaffold a very important file called package.json that will be placed in your root folder. So you can just answer yes to this, and you should be all set up with having npm in this an npm project set up in this folder, and you can see the package.json file. Let's pop this open in our code editor. Here it is. We can see the package.json. It's a very basic setup. Now, the package.json file is really important in all npm projects because it's going to hold all the scripts that you will run and all the dependencies that you will be using in your projects. It's very similar to a gem file. For those of you who have been working with Ruby before, or Ruby-based projects, but it holds more information than that. All right. So let's clear the terminal. There is another command that you have to run now, and that is to actually install the package that is called the End-to-End Training Wheels. So we're going to say npm install, and we want to save this package in our development dependencies. So we're going to say save dev, and we want to say E2E Training Wheels, like this. Now, what this will do is going to reach out to the npm repository, fetch the end-to-end training wheels package and its dependencies, and then it's going to install Chromium. Chromium is a version of Chrome that can be used for testing purposes, and it's apparently 82.7 megabyte big, so it can take a a short while depending on your internet connection, but it shouldn't take too long. So let's see if we can get this one installed. And that should be it. Right, so it did install 228 packages, found 0 vulnerabilities, which is good. We should be set up with that. Now, if we take a peek at the package JSON file, we can see here that by running this command, we added a development dependency, and it's listed in our package JSON. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do, according to the documentation on npmjs.com, is to run this command. It's a setup script that we prepared for you. Now, it's no shame in copying and pasting it. Now, just make sure not to include that $sign. The $sign implies that this is supposed to be run in your terminal. So let's copy and execute this command in our terminal. What it will do is that it will set up the project for you. You can see in the output that it read a few files, and it created some folders and some files. So and it also modified the package JSON file for us. So let's have a look at what that file looks like at the moment. Oh, sorry. We can see that the setup script added a few scripts that we can run in our project. It also added some command line interface commands that we can use to ease up our development process. I will talk a little bit more about this generator mainly, I would say. If you take a closer look at the folder structure of our project that we just created, the script that we just run added a few things for us. Now, if we look at the source folder, we have an index.html file that is a basic scaffold. It's a boilerplate HTML setup. It doesn't show anything on the screen. What it does is that it has a title, Puppeteer Mocha Scaffold. It doesn't do anything else than that. We also have some new folders called CSS, Image, and JS, where you will be placing your assets when you work with your implementation, or when you develop your project. So that is set up for us. Another thing that has been created for us is the spec folder. And the spec folder is the folder where your unit tests will reside. And we also added a scaffolded spec. It doesn't do much, but it just shows you how a test can look like. So in this case, we create an array that holds 2 values, and the only thing we do here in our actual test is to sum these two numbers up, and we have an expected assertion that that sum should equal to 5. That's a pretty standard test, right? The second thing we added was a features folder, and in that features folder we have an example of a test. And what that test does, if you look at line 21 to 23, is to just make sure that the title of the page that you will be loading actually says Puppeteer Mocha Scaffold. And as you remember, when I was showing you the index.html, that is exactly the title of that page. Now, before that happens, we are doing certain things. We're initiating a headless browser, the Chromium browser that I spoke about earlier. We're visiting a page on our local server that will be started for us with this setup. And once we and there are some more before blocks and after blocks that we want to execute so that our configuration works properly, should we have more tests, etc. Now, you probably noticed that we are requiring a file on top of this feature file, but also the spec file that is called spec helper. That file has also been created for us. It resides in the root folder, and it sets up the testing frameworks that we are using because the end-to-end training wheels package is basically a wrapper around some other packages that are available on NPM that actually holds the logic on how to set up a server, how to test, etc. You can acquaint yourself with what packages are actually used by the end-to-end training wheels package by going to npm.js.com and check out the tab that says dependencies. And here you have links to the different packages that this package relies on, basically. Now, should we now, just after running this setup script, want to run our tests? And we can do that by issuing the npm test command. We can see that there is a Chrome driver popping up, and that those two tests that we just scaffolded are going green for us. So that is how easy it is to use this end-to-end training wheels package. Of course, if you want to understand everything that is going on behind the scene on this one, you're going to have to dive into the dependencies, but this is just enough to get you started. And that's what I have for you right now. And I hope that you find this package easy to use and that it will help you in your path when you learn how to code. So thank you for that.